Good morning, everybody. I'm Chris McGilvray, Academic Dean at Front Range Community College, and honored to be here to talk to you about FRCC's Highway Maintenance Management Program. You're going to hear about how FRCC has focused on creating meaningful pathways that connect students to real-world careers. This program is one we are particularly proud of as it's a direct response to industry needs and is making a tremendous difference in students' lives. I'd like to introduce two very important people who have been instrumental in shaping the advancement of this program. First, we have Sue Balarjian. She's our Director of Highway Maintenance. Sue's truly been the driving force behind the development and success of this program, dedicating years to building partnerships, creating curriculum that has equipped our students with the skill and the knowledge they need to be successful. So Sue's commitment to workforce development and her deep connections with industry has been a pillar in our program's growth. And then second, joining us is the one and only Dawn Strange, who was our first graduate of the Highway Maintenance Management Program. You're going to hear from Dawn's journey, and it's a testament to the impact of this program. He started as a student looking to advance his career and is now thriving in a supervisory role as the Street and Code Division Manager for the city of Highland Village in Texas. So Dawn's experience embodies our mission to create accessible, career-focused education that empowers our students and strengthens the communities that we serve. Sue.
Okay, thank you, Chris. That's very nice. So our we're going to show you how we built a program that values the experience and training employees in the transportation operations industry bring. These are the people who serve your community by maintaining and building the infrastructure in your states and towns. These are the snowplow operators, the traffic control supervisors, the equipment operators, and the laborers who do the work that allows you to do yours. Our competency-based model applies the principles of adult learning through our PLA process, and the value we place on the existing knowledge and the flexibility of the students who come to our program. So they're motivated by incentives for promotions, personal achievement, and the immediate application for their learning. So we're looking at all the things that the principles of adult learning say these folks want to be successful, and we're trying to satisfy those as much as possible with our program. But we didn't do any of it alone. We engaged all of our partners. This was a collaborative effort from the very start. And all of our partners who were from the beginning are still active participants in our advisory committee and are completely committed to our success and the success of our students. Finally, we're going to hear the story of one student and how he's not only applying the knowledge that he's gained from the program, but how he's demonstrating exemplary leadership in supporting the professional development and the success of his own public works team.
All right, thanks, Sue. So we're excited to talk about what we've been working on in regards to bridging the gaps for degree attainment, particularly with the working adults, the adult learners, specifically through this program. This program was developed, as Sue mentioned, in response to a common problem, a significant problem facing the transportation and highway maintenance sector. Significant workforce shortages, particularly when it comes to the upward mobility and promoting employees into supervisory positions. So while many of the employees in this space have exceptional hands-on experience, what we found is they lack the formal education and the training to take on leadership and management roles, project management opportunities. And this issue is we heard it from the Colorado Department of Transportation initially, but it isn't unique to the Colorado DOT. It's something that we see across the entire industry, across the entire nation. And it's why we knew we had to develop a solution and get out in front of this, and that it could be scaled essentially across the sector. So before we could build an effective program, we needed to better understand specifically what were these challenges that the industry was facing by engaging with leaders across this industry. So we brought in leaders from transportation, from highway, including the Department of Transportation, contractors, federal agencies to talk about these things: staffing, hiring, retention, promotion, succession plan. And the insights that were shared were extremely critical and served as the foundation for this program. We found across the board that there was a need for training, for certificates to help these workers advance. Many workers, they had experience, but they needed support to move up. So after these discussions, we invested more than 4 years, largely due to Sue's leadership, into program development for this program, including course outcomes, curriculum, looking at modality design that was appropriate for the working adults. We found that higher education is built in a way that at times is not the most conducive to a full-time worker. And so we were very mindful of that in how we built out the modality, and how it was appealing, how it was effective for the working adult. This is definitely not something that we did alone. We collaborated with all of our partners. You see a few here listed. LTAP was tremendous. They helped provide some technical training support. APWA to ensure we met public works standards. ATSSA to integrate essential traffic safety principles into the program, and then NHI to align with federal highway standards. And by partnering with these organizations, and this is just a few, we made sure that this program wouldn't just serve the Colorado Department of Transportation, but the nation, and could be applied across the nation, meeting the broader needs of this industry. So the impact this program has had on workforce development is significant. It provides adult learners with the skill, with the credential they need for these supervisory roles. It also has strengthened the talent pipeline for transportation and highway maintenance sector as a whole. So we want to emphasize how critical collaboration between education and industry has been in this program's success and sustainability. We built a model that addresses the workforce shortages in this sector by providing these clear pathways. And so next, Sue is going to go a bit more in depth in terms of what makes this program unique.
Here we go. All right. So first of all, I just want to mention that all of the photographs that I'm using here in these slides are actually from the students who do this work, just so you can get an idea of the types of things that they're dealing with and kind of appreciate what they get faced with every day. So all the photos have been sent in by former or current students, and I use them just to really showcase them and their work. Okay, so going on to the next one. So the value proposition, right? What is it? It's giving these students the advantage of low cost tuition, right? The out-of-state tuition for 3 credits here at Front Range is $1,288. So considerably less than what some other places are charging. Also considerably less time, right? How do we get students to the finish line sooner? These are the goals: to cut the cost, to get them done, give them the convenience of a program that's entirely online, and that applies the adult learning principles that we talked about, right? Traditional higher ed programs, like Chris mentioned earlier, are built for full-time students, and all of our students are incumbent workers, full-time workers in the field. So they're all participating in our program part-time. And we totally appreciate that. And we kind of built that into the whole, the all of it, the whole dynamics of the program. Um, so industry needed needed something, a degree or something that satisfied those students' needs, because transportation operations, it's an industry with little or no knowledge requirement for entry level positions. And almost everyone that enters this field gets here basically accidentally. They kind of fall into it because they needed a job. They maybe had one skill and they were able to find a place at Public Works. But the agencies and the departments of transportation weren't doing the right types of development to get them promoted to the next level, right? So they were giving them all this awesome technical training and learning, but they weren't developing them as supervisors and managers. So they came to Front Range and asked, could you help us with this problem? Like, what can we do? And Front Range decided that yes, we could do that. And in 2019, before that, like Chris mentioned, a lot of the work that went on was a lot of it. I don't take any of the credit for. A lot of that happened before I came. But since 2019, when we launched it, we actually did an awesome launch at the CDOT facility down in Denver, and the governor came to lend support for the workforce work that we were doing with it. But it's an associate's degree in applied science, and students are able to take these skills directly to their jobs and put them to work immediately to help them to, advance to those management positions that they may not have been qualified for before. It's an entirely online program with students right now in participating from 17 different states. And again, all of them are workers in the field with demanding jobs in public works or DOTs. And the flexibility of this program allows them the ability to complete the work on their own schedule. We had 27 participants in the first cohort, and several of them have either graduated or are continuing on and preparing to graduate. So, and we've only been around for 5 years, and we've got 7 current graduates right now. And it's remarkable because we didn't expect a single graduate until this past spring. And we had already gotten 7, which is just far beyond our expectations. So shown here on this picture, and I love to put this out there, this is our first graduate, Don Strange, and we are going to hear from him a little bit later. He's gonna give us his side of the story. But this program was specifically designed for people who are already doing maintenance work, but they need those management skills, right, to promote up to the next position. There's no other program that addresses the management skills necessary to qualify for these promotions. And the students who previously would never have considered themselves as college students or successful college students are finally, through this, seeing the benefit of earning it. And they're highly motivated by the credits for prior learning that we're awarding for their industry certificates. So 1/3 of our program is PLA based, and that's a lot about what we're going to talk about here soon. Each course is competency based and grounded in industry need. All of the critical components to our success is our partner. The critical component to our success is the partnerships that we've formed. And this has completely been a collaborative effort from the very beginning. We did none of this alone. It was a partnership from the start. Chris? I think you're muted.
We can't hear you, Chris. You're still muted on our end. We can see you, we just can't hear you.
Hello.
Oh, there you are. Yep, now we can hear you.
Okay. I just saw in the chat that one of our participants asked if we will be if we could share the PowerPoint presentation, and yes, we will do that after this presentation. And if you feel free to throw any questions in the chat as well, and we can address those throughout the rest of the presentation as well. And okay, so this experience matters, right? And so with working adults, they're coming into this program with experience. So it's important to acknowledge this experience, recognize it, and honor it in a meaningful way. One of the ways that we do this is through prior learning assessments, as Sue mentioned. This has been a critical piece to helping our working adults, particularly those in this program, earn their degree faster by recognizing the skill and knowledge they've gained through the work experience and get them to the finish line much, much sooner. When we think about the challenges, we all know the challenges that come with having a job and as an adult learner. You've got a lot of different things that come with limited time and limited funding at times. And so PLA has been critical in allowing us to evaluate and give credit for what individuals already know, making sure that our pathway advisors are equipped with the tools to connect our students to the resources based on their prior experience and their previous training. I'm sure we've all sat through classes that were like, we already know this information. So this is especially valuable in workforce heavy industries, such as transportation and highway maintenance. This is many of employees, as we've mentioned, have that hands-on experience, but lack the formal education. So the foundation for PLA is at the core of our core courses in the program, and it's framed by the common competencies and skills across the industry. We identified key competencies that are shared industry-wide. Just a few are supervisory skills for managing teams, safety standards for compliance, technical skill related to the road maintenance and operations, leadership and communication skills being essential for managerial roles. Because these competencies are so critical and well aligned with real world job experience, many of our working adults come into this program and they've already demonstrated the skill, and that's where PLA has been such a powerful tool. So the next part of the PLA process is assessing and strategies to measure competence. This has allowed us to determine what our students already know, and there's several ways to go about this in a efficient way. There's portfolio submissions where we have students submit evidence of work, such as projects, training, certificates, documentation, and then competency-based assessments where we directly evaluate the skill, like safety procedures, leadership decision-making and such. And then we also have standardized exams where you are tested for essential concepts that align to the industry standards, such as OSHA and traffic management. So this ensures that students are, again, given the credit for what they've already mastered while maintaining the rigor of our program. And Sue mentioned 2/3 of our courses are lined up with PLA, which is pretty significant. Now, let's talk about crosswalks. There's a lot of confusion around the crosswalk process and transcription process. A crosswalk is so powerful because it's actually free to the student. It's a document that matches a student's prior training and work experience to the learning outcomes of a specific course, and it creates a clear, standardized way of mapping what somebody's already knows to what's required in the curriculum. And Sue and our team have worked closely with our industry partners to develop a wide range of crosswalks that have allowed students to earn these credits from their training that they've already completed. So for example, through partnering with our Colorado LTAP, local technical assistance program, students can receive credits towards our highway maintenance management program by completing specific LTAP trainings that they were already going to complete. So these crosswalks mean that a student who completes these LTAP trainings in areas like road safety, work zone traffic control, will earn credit that counts directly towards this degree. And here's what's powerful about a crosswalk: zero cost to student. And it's once you have a crosswalk built, it's already in place. And so this has been a game changer for many of our working adults, reducing both time and financial investment required for degree attainment. So in addition to LTAP, as I mentioned, as one example, we've established similar crosswalks with organizations across the nation: APWA, ATSSA, NHI, allowing students to receive credit for industry standard certificates that they've already earned. Once a crosswalk's complete, the transcription process happens. That's when the magic happens. It's essentially applying for credit through the degree. And in our program, that means that students don't have to sit through courses where they've already demonstrated the knowledge and skill that they've received, allowing them to focus on other areas that they need to develop. So in practice, we've found that the majority of the courses in our highway maintenance management program are eligible for PLA, even the managerial and leadership courses, which has dramatically reduced the time and cost it takes for our students to complete this program.
Chris, I had a few questions. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I had a few questions come through. Is it okay if we ask you those?
Absolutely.
We're moving forward. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm running a little behind. But the first question that an audience member asked was, what states are involved?
Okay.
And I think that, and I apologize, I think that was a little bit at the beginning of the session, so I'm not sure what that was referring to, but that was one of the questions. Do you need me to get clarification on that?
Nope, I have an answer. So I can give you the list.
Take it away, Susan.
Well, I can give you some of them. I can tell you that right now I currently have students in several students in the state of Maryland from Maryland DOT, several students from Texas, several students from Washington State, students in Virginia, all over Colorado. I had one student from Connecticut. We had students in Indiana, Illinois. We have graduates from New Mexico, students in Vermont, Nevada, North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
And Ohio. And those are just the ones that I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay. Thank you very much for that response. All right, great. And then another question was, I may have missed it, but what is the length of the program?
So this is an Associate of Applied Science degree. That's really important to highlight. So at the core, this is a career technical education program, and we don't want to put a cookie cutter approach to the timeline, Diana. So to Sue's points earlier, the PLA dramatically gets students to the finish line a lot sooner. And so every single one of the students pursuing this program has a different map, essentially. And so what that means is some students can complete this program much quicker than a 2-year Associate of Applied Science degree like Don Strange. And he will highlight how he was able to get to the finish line, having had 0 credits applied. He had never taken any college classes coming into this program and got to the finish line much sooner than the 2-year model. And then these are working adults. So there's students that Sue's working with that it's taking them a bit longer than the traditional 2-year timeline. So again, this is one of those things to where if you go to any college website, they're going to say, here's a 2-year program, here's a 4-year program. And for somebody that has a 40-hour-a-week job, single parent raising 3 kids as a highway maintenance worker, that's not practical. That's not realistic. And it's actually devaluing that prospective student, and it really turns them off. So we don't really like to put a timeline on it. What Sue can speak to is she knows exactly where every single one of her students are in their map and is helping them through in a unique pathway that fits the student, and that she's tailored that to the student, if that makes sense.
Yes, definitely. Okay, thank you so much for answering. And will Don be speaking on his experience as well later on in the session? Perfect. Can't wait to hear. All right, thank you for answering that question. And then also, may have missed this, this participant came in a little bit late, but do you anticipate if the students will need to have a bachelor's degree? Are you partnering with any 4-year institutions? If so?
Yeah, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves because Don will share his story, but he's getting ready to graduate with a bachelor's in creative business for creative industries much sooner than the timeline that you would typically receive a bachelor's degree. So he'll share that. He'll share his story in a bit and how he was able to make that work. So we definitely will get into that.
Wonderful. Can't wait. Congratulations, Dawn. All right. And then also we have, what are the modalities used for assessing possible PLA credits?
I'm going to hand that to our PLA guru, Sue.
Yeah, so I evaluate every single program that's presented from students for prior learning assessments. The majority of them, again, because these are competencies that were from across the industry, and most of them are for traffic control supervisor. And I actually go and I take the class, or I examine all of the curriculum. And I can't tell you how many times I've sat through a traffic control supervisor course, and there is really only one way that you can teach traffic control supervisors. So as long as the competencies we're looking for are present in the training program, I'm able to deliver or to write the crosswalk for credit. If they're not, most of the agencies that we work with are willing to modify their curriculum to be compliant and to hit all the competencies that we wanted. I'm not saying that all of the programs are delivered really well, because I've seen some that are not, but I don't evaluate the delivery. I'm looking for the competencies. And if the students are able to demonstrate those competencies at the end of the program, I'm able to consider them for credit. And that's basically how it is. I evaluate all of them. If it's asset management, I go take the class. And I sit right there with the rubric that I use to evaluate the competencies for all of the programs. So it's pretty consistent across the board. But again, because these competencies came to us from the industry, they don't vary very much. Whether it's asset management, the types of preservation treatments these folks are putting on the road, safety is basically OSHA 10 is basically what they're doing. Whether they call it that or not, the competencies are the same. So that's pretty much how those evaluations happen.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Also, we have Dawn who asked a question. How are crosswalk CPL credits awarded, as transfer or CR or letter grades?
They're as PLA, as prior learning assessment. So they're not as letter grades. I don't know, Chris, is there a specific term that they're using? I haven't looked at a transcript lately, but I don't think it's any. I think it's just listed as PLA.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah, it is listed as PLA.
Yeah. Anything that they've transferred, though, other things that they've transferred, or if they've done an exam, a challenge exam, it's listed differently.
Okay. Thank you. All right. And then I think we have, sorry, the questions are flowing. I want to make sure you all get back to the presentation as well, but this is great that we have a lot of people chiming in. But one last question from Elise. What do students leverage more, the portfolio or assessments for PLA?
Assessments for PLA. In the beginning, when we did not, when it was new and I had not written those crosswalks yet, I had one crosswalk, I think, when Don was taking the program. But since then, in 5 years, we have a long growing list of transcription agreements and crosswalks, because as students present them, and as different states and different organizations send students to the program, we want to work with them as much as possible to reduce that cost, reduce that time, take advantage of the knowledge that they're all bringing to the table.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, participants.
Yeah, and these crosswalks are just a powerful thing that I think we just need to spend a little bit more attention on in higher education, because it's a great way to, again, encourage our prospective students to pursue a program that there are, that they don't necessarily need to take all the classes within the program. Just a really quick example about a Broadcom. So Broadcom, in our Center for Integrated Manufacturing at our college, they have required trainings that you have to take as an employee. So we have a crosswalk that says, look, if you complete these trainings that are already required of the employee as part of their onboarding, now there's this formalized crosswalk agreement where you're basically gifting these employees credits and acknowledging those credits. That's a pipeline of enrollment potentially into your program. It's been a game changer for Sue as she's lined up all of these. And yes, it is a heavy lift up front to kind of spell out what this crosswalk agreement looks like. And there is a timeline on a crosswalk. It's not like once you formalize a crosswalk, it's every 5 years she has to assess the crosswalk and update the crosswalk. But again, once you've laid that framework and you have that agreement in place, then you have these industry partners helping you promote your program, and that's the pipeline of students into your program.
Okay, thank you. Another question just popped in. You might just be answering questions instead of moving forward, but are students successful in transferring their PLA to their bachelor's?
Yes, we'll get into that in a second.
Guessing that's what we'll hear with Don. Okay.
Actually, Don will share his story on how that's helped him get his bachelor's degree in a bit.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, that's all the questions for right now. If any other come through, I'll let you know. Thank you.
Were you done, Chris?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to add the part about the partnerships and how critical they were to our success, right? They brought us the competencies and the certifications. They knew what was being taught out there. They knew what they needed, and they knew what was being taught and what the employees were being trained on. And they brought all of that to us. So students just present the certificates and they pay nothing for the credits, right? It's just like any other college transfer of credits. Removes that time and financial barrier for so many students that really, just can't do it. And I know I gave the cost for credits here in Colorado for out-of-state credits, but it's significantly less for in-state students and residents here. So it's just a huge motivational factor for a lot of these people. The value, though, of getting the competencies from the industry is that from the very beginning, they became our advisory committee, right? And I do a lot of presentations out there for workforce development. And one of the things that surprises me is that people always, they get a program together, they build something, and then they say, when do we get our advisory committee? And all I'm going to say is you need them first. They're going to bring you the problem, right? They brought us the problem, but they also brought us the solution and the resources to create the solution, right? So the importance of starting with the advisory committee can't be stressed enough. You need them before you actually have a program, and they continue to advise us and guide us on changes or new technology that we should consider, right? They remain totally the backbone of our success, but we'll talk more about that later. But this program was specifically designed for these people who are already doing this work, but they need those management skills to promote up to the next position. That's where they were lacking. And I know I talk about Colorado DOT being the one that brought this forward, but it was across the board, everywhere. Every state, every local agency, they were not doing the leadership or management development for their employees that they really needed to do. So it was specifically designed for them. There's no other program that addresses the management skills that are necessary to qualify for these promotions. Students who previously would never have considered a college degree are seeing the benefit of earning one near now and are motivated by the credits for prior learning that we're awarding for their certificates that they're already getting on the job. Again, each course is competency-based and totally grounded in the industry need, but the most critical component to our success has been the partnerships we've formed and the collaborations that we've created with them. Mm-hmm. All right, next.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the time, and we want to definitely, the magic is when we pass the baton over to Don to hear his story. So I'm going to spend a little bit less time on this slide so we can focus more on Don and having him share his story, because I definitely want you all to hear that. But I do want to say another significant aspect to what Sue mentioned about the partnership-driven program development is the map sequencing. And this involves collaborating with our advisory boards, determining the best sequence for each of the classes, to support student success. For example, we've recently developed, and by we, I mean Sue, but we developed a stackable certificate called the Transportation of Operations Certificate, where students complete in their first semester. And this is a program that's geared towards teaching students those fundamental skills to get entry-level jobs as a maintenance worker. And that's a stackable certificate that, again, we had to respond to what industry was telling us and build that stackable certificate. And that is something we've recently done in the last 6 months. Also, we have a stackable certificate sequenced into this program, Foundations of Leadership and Management Certificate. It's part of the AAS program that enhances, again, the students' skill around management and leadership in helping to train our leaders for upward mobility. Sue. You are muted.
Is that better? Okay, we're having our issues here today. So again, the importance of advising. These partnerships that we had, they from the very beginning became part of our advisory committee. And what they told us was that what they showed us when they brought us all these competencies and all these certificates was that each of these students is going to come to us from a different place. And it makes it really hard to answer the two questions everybody asks. How long is it going to take and how much is it going to cost? Because I can't tell you that. They're all coming from somewhere else. Some of them are bringing transfer credits from other colleges. Some of them are bringing certificates that, maybe I hadn't heard of yet, or they're bringing knowledge that we could use that we just haven't created crosswalks for yet. So that became part of the problem. But again, not only did our partners bring us the problem, they always bring us the solution. Some of the partnerships that we have include all of the primary training agencies that Chris was talking about earlier, right? The American Public Works Association, we're using their supervisory and their management programs to crosswalk to our leadership and one of them for our capstone project. The National Highway Institute, which is the premier training organization for all of the state DOTs. The problem with doing their training is the cost. So it's very expensive and local agencies can't afford those. So they gave us their competencies so that local agencies can replicate their training or use their free training to provide it to the local agencies. American Association of State and Highway Transportation Officials, AASHTO, which is the big one for all things transportation in states, and the Colorado Local Technical Assistance Program. It's the conduit to get this training out to the local agencies, right? So they get a lot of their stuff from the same places we do. They're just able to deliver it to the local agencies for a much lower cost and in a much more equitable way. One unexpected outcome, though, has been the number of graduates who are continuing on to bachelor's degrees and more. Their experience in our program helped people who never saw themselves again as college graduates have become lifelong learners. Right. So speaking of one of those alumni, I want to introduce right now Don Strange. He is this is the story we want you folks to hear. So if all of you out there who have been listening have been asleep up till now, this is the part of the story that we really want you to remember. This is the part that you can replicate for yourself and generate the same kind of student success. So here to tell us all about how he did it is Don Strange.
Good morning. No pressure, right? So I want to thank Chris and Sue. Again, my name is Don Strange. I want to share a little bit about myself, my journey, the industry I work in, and where I hope all this takes us. So I'll start by saying that there's nothing special about me. Communities all across the country are full of people like me who just need an opportunity. And so, what I'm about to share with you, I feel like is possible when norms are challenged and doors get opened. So a little bit about me. As a junior in high school, I was on track to get a football scholarship, be the first person in my family to go to college. When I say first person in my family, my entire family. But sadly, that year, my father passed away, and my mom had some challenges and some medical issues. which prevented her from being able to work. So I had to drop out of school and go to work, help raise my little sister. So, but I did go back and get my GED later that year. But that's when I began my career in public works. I went to work for my hometown patching potholes. So in the street department. And I'll spare you a whole lot more details, and we'll flash forward about 3 kids and 30 years later. I found myself working here at the city of Highland Village in Texas, where I was working as the street department superintendent. That's as far as I could go without a degree. So during those years, I was never able to get back to school, but I did make it my mission to make sure my kids went to college. Both of my boys graduated, which was an accomplishment for me. But again, professionally, without a degree, superintendent was as far as I could go. So in 2018, my boss came into my office and gave me direction to either develop or find some pavement specific training for our street department staff. So I took that ball and ran with it. I worked with the National Highway Institute, APWA, some of the ones mentioned earlier, and we developed a pavement specific professional development certification program. Say that 5 times fast. But because of that direction and the efforts that followed, every street department employee now in Highland Village earns $1,200 extra a year in certification pay, and that was new. So that came out of this. And through the contacts that I made during that process, later on, I was approached by Front Range Community College out of the blue. And they told me they were working on this associate's degree in highway management. And so my role at first was to give them input for prior learning assessment. At that point in my career, I had roughly, if you look behind me, you'll see some of them. I had 1,400 hours of industry training at NHI, Texas A&M Engineering, LTAP, and so on, APWA. Went through that process. I was so encouraged by the end that I thought, you know what, why not apply? Why can't I do it? And eventually, as mentioned earlier, I wound up becoming the first graduate of the program in 2021. That year, and it took me 18 months to do it. But that year, I earned the Outstanding Student on the Larimer Campus Award, and I graduated with a 3.8 GPA. So, and I share all that because I'm not trying to brag about myself, but I wanted to demonstrate what's possible, when someone gets an opportunity. Again, if you look behind me, you'll see all my industry certificates that I earned over the years. And at the top is my degree from Front Range. And the symbolism there being the foundation I built with all my industry training led to that degree. I think that's a powerful visual. And I'm sure there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people just like me in communities all across the country, in your community, who for one reason or another, due to life, we're not able to go to college. But if they're given the chance, they might just surprise you. We have a saying around here that says a rising tide lifts all boats. So I want to talk a little bit about the need. I'm going to bore you a little bit with some statistics, but I think if you pay attention, they're worth it. I work here in Texas, so I'm going to use Texas in my community as an example, but these examples apply everywhere across the country. So industry standards tell us it costs about $1.5 to $2 million to build 1 mile of road, right? 2 lanes. Here in Highland Village, where I work, small community, 20,000 residents, we manage 400 miles of road times $1.5 million. It's the number is pretty staggering. And consider the city the size of New Orleans, Denver, Colorado, Dallas, Texas. The investment's huge. It's the biggest investment a community makes. So in Texas alone, there's about 90,000 miles of road managed by TxDOT. And within the state of Texas, there's 244 counties. And each one of those counties has a public works division managing and maintaining roads, right? Within those 244 counties, there's over 1,200 cities, towns, villages, whatever you want to call them. They each have their own public works departments, their own street departments, roads they manage and maintain. So there's a huge market out there of people like me, that will benefit from this degree. Highland Village, I say this all the time, Highland Village, to give you an idea of the investment, Highland Village could sell every fire truck and police car they own and fund maybe 3 miles of road. So that's not apples to apples, but it just gives you an idea of the investment. So, now what if I told you, after hearing all that, what if I told you there's no formal training, certification program, or degree path for individuals managing every community's biggest asset payment? Um, you know, it's actually astounding when you consider other positions at a city. You have things like code officers are licensed, building inspectors, accountants, administrative assistants, mechanics, water sewer professionals, fire, police. I could go on, right? They all have formal certification programs or degree paths, but the individuals managing your most expensive asset did not until 2021. Um, Front Range saw the first graduate. I'm proud to say that was me. I'm someone who started with 0 college credit and a GED, a whole lot of experience, but no formal, college degree or anything. So, and again, it's not that there's anything special about me. It was just simply the fact that someone, Front Range Community College, opened a door for me. It took me 18 months to graduate, and the PLA process was crucial. I was able to not only cut the time in half it would have taken me to graduate, but the cost. So for me, being an out-of-state student, it was about $1,200 a class for me to take, taking 2 courses a semester. But I was able to leverage PLA for 27 of the 60 credits. And in real dollars, I can tell you, it saved me personally over $10,000 in tuition. Those are real dollars that did not come out of my account, thanks to that process. So, you talk about the future, and I know some of you are 4-year institutions, and you may be saying, what does this mean for us? And the answer is simple: as transfer students. So once I started down this path and I got my associate's degree, I got the learning bug. I transferred to MSU here in Texas after I graduated at Front Range in pursuit of a bachelor's degree, and they're a 4-year school. And more recently, I transferred back to Front Range. They just created a bachelor's in creative industry business degree. Chris mentioned that earlier. And I'm working really hard. I hope to be the first graduate of that degree as well. And beyond that, I've actually applied at another institution, been accepted. And next year, we'll start working on my master/PhD in government. So a guy who went from 0 college credit, potentially, if everything goes well in a couple of years, may have a doctorate, or a PhD. And it's incredible to me that this happened. But it was all made possible because my director gave me the challenge, which I accepted. And Front Range Community College saw value in a 54-year-old high school dropout with 0 college credit. And I'll wrap this up going back to what I said in the beginning. There's nothing special about me. There's individuals just like me in your communities right now that just need an opportunity. And given that opportunity, they just might surprise you. And again, a rising tide lifts all boats. So, and thank you very much.
Wow, Dawn, thank you so much for that story. I love hearing your journey. This is what it's all about, is, making sure that we're here to support each other in our journeys and to evolve. And I'm so grateful that you were able to get in today. We were having some technical issues in the beginning, but I'm glad you're able to share that and, what this program is doing for you, actually seeing it, come to fruition and seeing someone, come out of it the way that you did and, grow the way that you did. That's an inspiring story. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Thanks, Dawn.
All right. Chris and Susan, do you both have anything else to add? We have about a few minutes left, about 8 minutes left in this session. So I don't know if there's anything you want to, close with, or.
Well, I just want to mention that, like Don, I know Don doesn't like to brag about himself, but he was a Phi Theta Kappa honor student at that year that he graduated. And so far, 6 of the 7 students who have graduated are either qualify for Phi Theta Kappa or are Phi Theta Kappa honor students. So that's a pride point for me. And I like to say that, and I'm going to hang on to that for as long as I can.
You should. That's amazing. Congratulations, Dawn.
Thank you.
I love how everyone's so humble too about all your accomplishments.
It's surreal to me, honestly, but it's doable.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to calling him Dr. Strange in the
can't
near
wait.
future.
That's the goal. That's the goal. Yes.
The new Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And I hear, Susan, you're working on your doctorate right now as well.
Yeah, but I don't have the cool name either, so I'm not going to be Dr. anything. I'm going to be like Chris, although Chris is forever going to be Dr. Gilfrey to me now.
Oh, I love it. Well,
Do we
congratulations to you all.
And I will say one more thing. If anyone in the audience has questions or want to reach out to me, my info is at the bottom. I really believe what I say when I talk about a rising tide lifts all boats. If I can help anyone through this process, or they have questions for me that there's not time for today, reach out to me, please. I'm available.
Perfect. Oh yeah, and Chris, would we be able to get the link to this presentation as well? And I can throw that in the chat. I know a couple people were asking
Absolutely.
for this information.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I know, we have 7 minutes left. So if the audience has any additional questions for
Yeah.
Dawn or.
I'm actually looking right now to see if we have any other questions. Oh yeah, we had Rachel asked, does Sue take all the classes in the process? I think you kind of answered that, right?
I do all of the evaluations I take all of the classes that are considered for evaluation for prior learning assessment. So if somebody new, like most of the students are sending me the same kinds, like I have a lot of places they can go to get these trainings, either free or really low cost. So a lot of them are using the same ones, but if I get one from a different place, for example, the Colorado Contractors Association is one, but every state has a contractors association. So I have them for New Mexico Contractors Association. So I have to evaluate them. I did not go to New Mexico. I simply asked for their curriculum and evaluated it that way. But if I can go there, or if the agency won't share their curriculum with me, I'll either not be able to write the crosswalk or I'll go there and take the class. So I spend a lot of money and time, in there, but it keeps me current on what's going on. And I'm always very sure that everything's included. And sometimes I get ideas for like, maybe something needs to change here. Or if there's an industry standard that changes, I become aware of it much quicker. So I'm able to stay on top of things that way. It is a lot of repetition, and, I do have to sit through some pretty incredible training programs.
I do have one more thing I'd like to share, if possible.
Yeah, yes, of course.
From a student's perspective, we've talked a lot about PLA and such. So as someone with no college credit, it shouldn't be lost that I did still have to take English, math, humanities, history, all the traditional courses you got to have anyway. The PLA and the crosswalks were all the applied science side. But yeah, I still had to take English and write a ton of papers, and math and so on. So there are core courses. If you're a student with no college credit and you're starting from scratch, you still got to take care of all those too.
Right. While we have you on the call too, Dawn, I had another participant, Tanya. She asked, did your employer have any tuition reimbursement?
Yes. Once annually, I'm eligible for $1,000 tuition reimbursement. So.
Thank you for answering that.
And being a Phi Theta Kappa member opened up the door for some scholarships. I actually got quite a few academic scholarships. They help more in the bachelor side than the associate side, but those were real dollars that I didn't have to spend as well.
Right. So there's incentive. Keep your grades up.
Right. Yeah.
All right. And then we have another question from Tanya. Can you give more information on the business degree creative industry?
Well, I can tell you I'm taking it right now, and like the associate's degree, there's a lot of core courses you have to have for a bachelor's degree beyond the associate. So I had to take all those, and then with the creative industries, there's a lot of the classes I'm wrapping up now. I'm taking like a creative technology and industry type courses and management classes. And I'm just warning all the future students, those of you who aren't accounting bugs, you have to take accounting, and it's accounting was out of all of this, my accounting class was the biggest challenge out of this whole experience, but I made it through. So
Yeah, and I can add to what Don just shared because previous to my current role, I was on the planning group for what BCI became what it is. But I was part of the business faculty side of things. And what we recognized a need for is we had people in the creative space, whether it was graphic design, music, or the trades, where they were welders or things like that, where again, there was a need for upward mobility around learning some of the managerial skills. Maybe you're a welder and you want to build a business around some of these skills that you've learned as a welder, or you want to learn project management skills and some of those things. And that was kind of at the core that drove the business for creative industries to be what it has kind of morphed into.
All right, looks like we're down to 2 more questions and we have 2 minutes. So we have a question from Judy. Are the faculties involved in the PLA process?
Yeah, our academic affairs department is involved in it. Every PLA crosswalk is reviewed by academic affairs, by the registrar, everybody that's involved in the process. It's a big meeting that we have for every single one of them. Prior learning assessments are just, they're different. I mean, the school's pretty good about helping us develop them and giving us the support we need for them, but they're not as mainstream, I don't think, as they should be, or as I would like them to be. As an advocate for experiential learning, I think it should be more and more, but they're growing with us, I guess, in that direction. So it's good to see, and it's encouraging every time we write another crosswalk to see the support. So yes, we have everybody. It's mostly industry, though, that's involved with it, because all of the core courses except our intro course is prior learning, the credits are earned through prior learning assessments. We don't have faculty that are doing those. They're bringing us their experience and their certificate. So as far as the general ed and the management courses, there's not a lot of PLA yet for those, but we're working on that. And that's what I mean by saying its PLA part is not as mainstream as I'd like it to be. I'd love to be able to see students submit certificates for some of those other courses and get prior learning assessment credits.
If I could say something quickly, I'll just add to that. The PLA side, a lot of people think you just present your certificates and you get credit. Sue challenged me quite a bit during that process. There was one PLA I submitted that was probably 40 pages long. It's not a rubber stamp. You have to have either already done the work and earned it, and even if you have to demonstrate that you did. So and I think we want it to be not simple. It shouldn't be undoable, but also it should be challenging, and it is.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, we are held accountable by industry. And so the rigor needs to be there. And so that's a perception that could be out there with PLA is, it lessens the rigor. When your program is geared to help students in the workforce, industry holds you accountable to a high standard, and that's our responsibility to meet that standard. And so one of the things we've been focusing at the college is really giving the faculty and the program directors the tools to use PLA as a tool, to welcome it. And so, and PLA is not taking away from the revenue that we generate through our courses. That's another perception that's out there with PLA is, why would I PLA this class? Because it's taken away from a student paying to enroll in this class. But the data shows that if the more PLA that Don gets, the more classes he's going to enroll in that are so and we have data we could share out to this group, but that's a perception that's out there, is why would I go the PLA route? Because it hurts the revenue flowing into the college. But it's actually the complete opposite.
All right, thank you so much. Sorry, we had one more question, but I don't think we'll have time to answer. We're running a bit over time, but I will, it's from Elise Zimmer, and she asked, could you speak a little bit about the advisory committees? How often do you meet? What strategies do you use? And what I'll do, and I just told Elise this in the chat, that I'll have, you know, one of you three go ahead and get back to her. I'll just get her email address so we can answer that question for her. But yeah, that was such an insightful session. I'm glad I was able to host and sit in on this. So thank you, Susan. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Dawn, for being here. We greatly appreciate you all three taking your time to give us your, you know, enlightenment on your program, experience, actually having Dawn here to say how he came out on the other end. This is just amazing to have this be a part of our conference. So thank you all so much. And then I just want to, you know, just remind everyone, all of our participants, thank you all for being here, for chiming in. Lots of great questions, lots of great content. But if everyone wouldn't mind just taking a moment, filling out our survey on our portal, because I'm sure each one of our speakers would like feedback on their presentation today. And then us here at Kale, we love the feedback from all these sessions. We want to know what you loved, what you needed more of, because we really curate our future conferences based off of, you know, the presentations that we had at this one. So again, thank you all for being here. And I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream. And then Susan, Chris, and Dawn, if you could just hold on, we'll go ahead and recap. All right. Thank you all for being here. Have a great day.